to you by the stations of KUAM.
The Buzz with Jess Lujan.
Good evening, Guam. I'm Jess Lujan. Welcome to this edition of The Buzz. Great show we have tonight. We have the Terlahis, we have John, we have Judy, and of course we have Dylan, our star here, Dylan Terlahi. And we're talking about Bill 215-32, which just today, the legislature filed a declaratory judgment today in the case of trying to get this to the voters for the November ballot. Good evening. Judy, John, and Dylan, how you doing? Please tell us, a story just ran earlier this week on Dylan, of course, and the famous story that we've all watched and heard, of course, Charlotte, in their family's quest on trying to find treatment. And that's exactly what you guys are doing. You're going to be relocating and following on that same path as Charlotte at this point. And let's get this out there as well, because the form of medicinal marijuana that is very has been seen to control seizures. Okay, is a form of marijuana is not the marijuana that people smoke and supposedly get high on. It's a supposedly very low dose marijuana that's used oil, right? It's something that's pressed on the tongue. Please, John.
Yeah, it's cannabinoid or a CBD. It's, what they do is they take the oil out of the plant, and they have to use like a whole lot of plants just to get a little oil out of it. So when we saw that special on CNN, we saw that work for Charlotte, so that gave us the idea of.
And you guys have actually, over the years, you've had medication. You've had medication. Dylan's been on medication, and we were talking before coming on that you've seen an increase in the seizures. That Dylan, I mean, he was, I guess he started having it when he was 3 months.
Right.
He's now almost 9.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Please, Judy.
So far, we tried 11 medicines, and just with the 11, a lot of side effects. We have other problems just taking the medication.
Sure.
Yeah, so over the years, we need to try something else. The
Sure.
medicine is not working.
Sure.
And there's 2 new medicines out, but we heard it's copycats of the 11, so we cannot wait for the FDA to approve it.
Sure.
We can't sit and watch him have seizure after seizure.
Sure. Now, I'm sure when you saw the special, you thought, wow, this is godsend,
Right.
and it's almost identical to what you guys are going through. And also in the introduction of Bill 215, we thought at this point it would have been passed or whatever, because it started off to be something the legislature was going to tackle and vote on it. And maybe now we're closer to maybe you guys not having to relocate for to seek treatment. But now it's in the courts, and we'll see what the courts decide, and maybe we'll have an opportunity to vote. Again, tell us Dylan's story.
Okay, well, when he was 3 months, he first had his first seizure. He had a fever, and then later on, he had a seizure, and he didn't have a fever, so he was diagnosed with epilepsy. And then in 2006, we took him to Children's Hospital in LA, and then all they did was they did a few tests, and they prescribed some medication, and then came back, and he was still having more seizures. Then we went back in 2008 to another hospital, did some tests, they did the same thing, and then came back, and then we just continued with trying new medications. If we went a month without him having a seizure, we would be happy. But he would always have seizures every 7 days.
Actually, now it's every 4 or 5 days.
Every 4 or 5 days.
Week.
So it's more frequent now as he gets older. Yeah. And do you find? I've had people that I've worked with as well that that had Grand Mall and Petite Mall and all that. And there's certain environments, I think, that set him off per se. Do you see now that he's older, now that he's not as confined, in the bed and rooms and everything, that now that he's more outgoing, all that, do you see that certain environmental factors maybe trigger off, now that he's older?
Actually, when he was younger, we kind of kept him inside the house all the time because the heat. And even now, the heat, he can't be outside for very long.
We always
Excitement.
limited him on a lot of activities, like playing outside with other kids. We didn't let him do that because we know he would have a seizure.
Yeah. Now you guys, you're going to be relocating with Dylan and your other daughter, right? And you're staying back to pay the bills.
Right.
Now you're going to be going to Realm of Caring. Is basically the story that we heard and watched on CNN, Charlotte and Charlotte's Web, right? It's been trademarked basically for Charlotte. Now you're going to be in the same nonprofit organization that has worked with patients such as Charlotte and almost the same symptoms.
Right.
Yeah. So and I was on their website. You told me this morning to check the website, and I'm going, wow, I mean, to even get, you're on a waiting list, I understand, right? You're on a waiting list. And I'm going, very stringent. I mean, to even qualify to get in, I mean, it's not you go in there and you get this ID and that's not how it's done. It's very stringent. It's like, man.
If you're missing something, you'd be rejected.
Yeah.
Or if you fill out the form wrong, you'd be rejected.
And you have to establish residency.
We do.
You have to go over there, establish your residency first, and of course you being the parent and guardian, you have to establish that because you're his caretaker, right? Caregiver, basically. But so how when the introduction of Bill 21532, was in place, it must have been watching CNN and having that, you must say, oh wow, our prayers are answered. But
I think we got kind of excited. But then we know just looking at the website for Realm of Caring, the paperwork is like so much.
Sure.
And we know that it's going to take time, but
out here at least,
that we can come back. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I want to come back to Guam.
Sure. So basically, you're hoping you need to get the treatment now.
Right.
You're hoping by the time that you've started the treatment, and we're going to have to go through the pains of the learning pains, the rookie pains and things like that, and we'll probably have maybe step by step, in order to get this in place. So you're hoping that down the line here it will be passed. I mean, again, we need to get over the fact that whether or not it's going to be in the ballot or not, and whether or not, again, somebody is going to challenge it in court, whether or not, again. But I was, we talked the other day. I was very optimistic when the federal judge had said, hey, we're leaving local law enforcement to enforce their local law. So it basically said, read between the lines. If local law changes, the local law enforcement is going to do that, and local law would dictate what local law enforcement people do, right?
Right.
So how do you feel about this? Because your story ran at KUM. There were some nasty comments, very nasty comments on that, and they think you're going to go out there to Colorado Springs, and roll a doob and smoke a doob and share it with Dylan. That's exactly not.
If I want to do that, I can just do that here.
Yeah.
Get a joint from here and have him smoke it, but there are uneducated people there.
Sure. And again, very mean. And these are the things, as a matter of fact, for the people who desire the smoking aspect of marijuana, they don't want the type of marijuana that is used to treat patients with epilepsy, because it's very ineffective for the high effect, right? Matter of fact, it's just the opposite. What does it contain that the other marijuana, I guess, that has the high effect?
It has more of the CDB, cannabinoid, and a lot less THC in it. So it's like a certain strain that they would have they develop.
Now, I was reading Charlotte's story here, and you're saying you're going down the road here, and you don't want Charlotte's story to be Dylan's story, because she just progressively got worse. She got to the point where she was tube fed, right? She would just be basically antisocial completely. I mean, her brain was ill.
Her brain was ill. And now when I'm reading, what she said, what they say now here is that after getting the green light from a team of neurologists and pediatricians, right? Charlotte is at low, non-psychoactive doses, and they charted her progress. First week, she went from 7 days, seizure-free, down to from 300 grand mals she was having. She had the previous week, 3 months into their journey, she was at 90% seizure-free and free of all pharmaceuticals. No other meds, okay? 8 months into their journey, she's now 99% seizure reduced. Fantastic, you know, fantastic story. And when we come back, we're gonna talk, she's riding horses now, she's got friends now, she's eating like a horse.
She's talking now.
Yeah. I mean, we saw that on TV.
Right.
Yeah. We saw
miracle.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're gonna talk more about that and Dylan's story when we come back. Let's pay some bills and we'll be right back.